My name's Anthony Pasquarello. I topped Yu-Gi-Oh! Nationals in 2011 and 3 YCSs back-to-back in 2012. Although I stopped playing in 2013, I've rediscovered my passion for the game through older formats and love sharing ideas about how to play. This is Yu-Gi-Oh! Masterclass. I'm by no means a Yu-Gi-Oh! Master. What's going on, duelists? Welcome to round 4 of my Deck Devastators 3 tournament run. Thanks so much for being here. We're coming off a loss last round against the Norlaris deck. If anyone wants to see the deck list in my little profile on it, that is in the first video of this little tournament series. So, 2-1. So, we don't want to show both. You didn't see anything. So here we could pitch Treeborn, special summon Swap Frog, and then go Substitute and Duplock turn 1. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I think the only reason I probably didn't do that is because we could have more cards in our hand for Trag, even though they're going to have a little trouble getting over the Duplock. I didn't see what they had, so I don't remember how this game went at all. I just remember how game 2 of this game goes. So they summon Alias and Swing, so we're able to drop the Trag. That works out pretty nicely. And then they play Future Fusion. They show the 0. They set a back row and they pass. We draw another Substitute. So our hand's not great. Bring back Treeborn. And I don't think we have to do anything too crazy right here. We could just swing first and then Duplock and try to thin these frogs out of the deck a little bit. I actually realized that he sent 2 cards that he couldn't send right there, so we fixed that real quick. So I Cold Wave first. This isn't mandatory. I don't think we have to Cold Wave right here. If this is Gemini Spark. If it was Deep Prison or anything else, I think, yeah, I don't know if I like Cold Wave right here, to be honest, because I think he could just chain this, and yeah, we set up Duplock, that's fine, but we're Monarchless, and I think the Cold Wave would come more in handy when we need to drop a Monarch, perhaps, but he's thinking about it, and I have a hard time thinking he's not going to chain right there, and he does. So we could fast forward through all Duplocking stuff. I always make sure to swing with the Swap Frog, well, with both, before we're going to finish this lock. And now, yeah, that's how you maximize your damage for that turn. So we went first. We have 6 to their 6. We are even. They have an absolute 0 coming next turn. Duplock seems okay. They summon Stratos. They're looking pretty good. And now we draw a really good card, considering this is great. And we've been sacking Monarchs when we need them throughout this run, it seems like, of this tournament. But it's nice that we Cold Wave. Now it looks nice because they have two traps they would have set last turn, but instead we have a Monarch that could get rid of Future Fusion and run over Stratos, which is great. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Treeborn comes back. Now we get rid of the 0. And I'm even going to pitch the Treeborn now to make the Swap Frog play, because this Monarch is so valuable to us that we could get our 600. We could swing for 1,000. We could bring this back to our hand. They're still Duplocked, so there's a chance we could do this again next turn if they don't draw an out. So that's exactly what we do. Treeborn's not doing us any good in the hand. This is the exact scenario where we want to pitch to special summon Swap Frog to try to keep going with our Monarchs. Because all you need is 1, right? And then we have this all set up very nicely. So we're in a really good spot right now, I think. And they're going to summon Ocean, and they're going to set 3 back row, and that's pretty scary, right? Because we really don't want to get torrentialed. And we draw another Monarch, which is great. bring back Treeborn. Now, here I bounce the Swap Frog first because I think I'm going to commit to the board. I think I'm going to drop a Monarch, and in doing that, we don't want to lose the Swap Frog too. I mean, if they Torrential and we lose our Dupe Frogs, we're not getting the effects. Treeborn's free, but if we could set them back a turn with Ryza or Caius, then yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's a little aggressive. We don't really have to do anything. We can make them do all the work, but now that they have Ocean, they're going to keep getting stuff back every standby phase, which I really don't want, so I think we kind of have to try to get that off the field. And we don't give them the info with Ryza. I don't think Ryza would have been bad right here. They have Deep Prison Solemn and Yada. They top deck the Solemn, and now they are thinking about this Solemn, and it's not a bad Solemn, but yeah, I think they just need to probably get Alias back and hope that they get another Gemini Spark. So that puts them at 2650. They're gonna Solemn the Caius, and there's really not too much we could do now. They are gonna get their plus, but when they summon the Stratos, they are gonna have to search. They're not gonna be able to pop any back row with Stratos' other effect. I don't think there's anything else we have to do, so we pass. They get their plus right here. They summon the Stratos. They get a Captain Gold as opposed to an Alias. They search for Skyscraper. They flip yet Legacy of Yada. Very interesting card in Heroes. Very interesting. And yeah, we have their life pretty low right now. We're not in a bad spot, and under Dupe Block they are going to pass. We draw Gore, so I feel great about that. They have Thunder King, Honest, Skyscraper, and 2 Miracle Fusions. But this back row right here is going to be the one that does it for us, unfortunately. I'm kind of still kicking myself a little bit. It's hard, because look at their graveyard. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, actually. Forget I said anything. So let's talk about what we have on the field right now. We still have Ryza, which is great. And when we drop the Monarch, they Solemned as opposed to Torrential, so we know that this is not Torrential, right? I think we're free to probably tribute this for Ryza, put this back on top, attack. We could pitch Substitute, Swap Frog, bounce the Ryza back, and just keep bouncing the Ocean every turn as we draw, and they're drawing the same card. Yeah, there's some options. There's some options here. I don't have to do anything, but this is going to keep getting a plus every turn, and we don't want that to happen, so we do put the Ocean back on top. I think that's the best play, and then we attack the Stratos. And now this is a key moment right here, because my opponent's checking the graveyard. They're thinking about if they want to respond to the attack. See the emoji that they're thinking. So this is telling me that they could be bluffing. This might not be anything, but it could be a Deep Prisoner or Mirror Force, and that's what I'm pondering. And they're checking my graveyard a lot. They're checking their own graveyard a lot. They're really, really thinking about this, and they do let it go through. Now that is a key moment in this game. They take the 600, and now I'm actually going to make this play to bounce the Ryza back to my hand and try to go for game next turn. I think that's pretty much what's in my head, right? Because we had Treeborn back, and we could most likely, yeah, if they summon a monster, we attack over for 9. It'd be only 19. We'd have to turn both these attack mode to do 21 if they don't set any more back row. But I feel like they know the pressure's coming, so we know that they have Miracle Fusion, and that's the first thing they do is play it to get some field presence, and they summon Ocean, and they pass. Dupe Block is just putting in work right now. Luckily, we haven't seen any Hero Blasts or really any crazy traps. That Gemini Spark happened kind of early, but we're not looking terrible. And I think now we could just Ryza loop this a little bit, and we have Swap Frog still safe on the field, so we could kind of take our time until we have what we need. So I think that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to summon Ryza, we're going to put the Ocean back on top, they have no response, we're going to bounce it back to our hand, and we're just going to pass. Now they're drawing Ocean, and they're gonna have to do the work sooner than later, hopefully, to deal with all these cards. And I think, yep, that's exactly what they do. So they Miracle Fuse, they get their own 0 off the field to break this lock. 0 breaks my board. I'm going to get my Dupe Frog effects. So we went first. We have 6 cards to their 6 cards. We have Treeborn Engrave, which is fantastic. They summon the Ocean. So this is at 35. I'm going to take 15. I'm going to take 35. And I'm going to drop the Gores right here. Now this is at... No, it's at 3,000. I'm sorry, not 35. I don't know why I took 25. It's supposed to be an extra 500. Yeah, that's not right. Alright, so now here's the play. Here's the play. They are at 2,050. If Absolute Zero goes back to the extra deck while it is face down, it does not get its effect. So, perfect that we have our one of book. If I book this and rise up, put it back in the extra deck, my field stays. Now that gives us 24, a 3,000 beater, and 27. We attack over this, we attack for game, right? If we attack over this... If we attempt to, well, let's get to that point first. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. My opponent realized the 500. I'm glad that they do. I forgot that completely. And now I think that's the play, right? And I'm thinking about this, and I even asked because rulings, and this is a clear showcase of rulings. I was very certain because we had talked about it the day before about booking an Absolute Zero and returning it to the extra deck, but I wanted to confirm that with my opponent before I did it. Even though they're going to get the knowledge of me having book, I'd rather not learn the hard way and lose the whole game for that. So here's the play. We do it, we bounce that back, and now here's the age-old question. How long did our opponent take to let that Stratos die when we attacked it with the Ryza? They looked at our graveyard, they looked at their graveyard, they thought about it for a good couple minutes, and I am worried that this is Mirror Force. This is 900. This is game. If I turn this to attack mode and this could only disrupt one attack, then it's game either way, right? If I turn these both to attack mode, but now I'm at 16. He did a lot of damage last turn. If I turn all these to attack mode and it's Mirror Force, now, I mean, he just needs a monster, and he probably has one, right? We don't know for sure, but looking at his hand, it's like, alright, heroes are pretty good at keeping monsters. So, not grass is always greener, but I forget what the old adage is, right? But I play it safe, and I attack right here for 1,200. And he's thinking, which one do I want to deprison? He lets it go through, he takes a 12, I attempt to attack for game, and it gets deprisoned, and my heart sinks at this point, knowing that if I did turn this to attack mode, that would be game, and we'd be going right to game 2 against this deck, which I think is still a really good deck, and very consistent, and very scary to play against. I would have felt very good being up a game. But I would have felt like absolute crap. I had attacked into Mirror Force, and I would have had to pitch Swap Frog to special summon a frog, and then kind of just hold on for dear life, I think. Even though they're 2 Miracle Fusions down, and they really probably only have 1 normal summon next turn. So maybe the right play would have been to attack with all of them. Yeah, he would have had an Ocean on the field, though, so then he still would have attacked over and probably attacked for a game with another monster. It's tough. It's a tough call. And right here, he's just going to summon Thunder King and Honest over the Gores in that game, and that is just an absolute heartbreaker. That's a tough loss. That's a tough loss, and you put in all that work game 1, you have Duplock, you're just playing it very well with the Rises. I felt like I didn't do really anything wrong there. And, yeah, at the end, the only thing that got us was not being overly aggressive. And is that a misplay? I was kind of hinting towards that moment happening the whole game just because I was so anticipatory about sharing it with everyone, because it was a defining moment, in this tournament. I'm 2-1, coming off a loss, and, what is your mental status while you're playing, right? This is a big game, and losing that one in that fashion, now we're down a game against a very consistent deck. So, yeah, now I'm mentally hurting a little bit, and, but never give up, and never, always go into the next game. New game, new play, wide receiver mentality. Forget what happened. Now we have our side deck in. Now we're good. Let's do what we got to do. So, send Treeborn with Swap Frog, set Dust, pass. I have a hard time thinking they're not going to set any back row. We do have Heavy too, which is absolutely fantastic. There's Stratos. They get Alias. They swing. And they pass. They don't set a back row. So they don't set a back row, and I don't even want to know if they have any back row. I think it is dangerous to set back rows with Treeborn and Grave, and here we draw a book, so I'm just going to set my other Treeborn, which we don't have to do, but this damage is going to start adding up. So, there's an argument to be made for let them summon and do 37 more and put us at 25, and then we keep Treeborn in our hand. If we top deck a Monarch, we could get back Treeborn, tribute it for the Monarch, get rid of the Treeborn in our hand for Swap Frog, bounce it back, and set Book maybe, or we have Fader. So, but here I just set Treeborn, give myself a little protection. Maybe they think it's Dupe Frog, maybe they're not going to attack, maybe they're going to go minus on a Gemini Spark to get it off the field, and they're thinking about what they want to do. They summon the Alias and they go right for the damage, and now the pressure is getting on us a little bit. They play Rhoda for Ocean, and they pass again with no back row. So here we draw Vortex, which is not great. And we don't really need it because we have Fader, so our Frogs are still locked behind this Dust Tornado, and our opponent has one. They have a Dust Shoot, they have a Hero Blast, they have plenty of traps that they're not setting. And even though I have Fader, I'm just going to Vortex now and get rid of the Book. Book doesn't do a ton against this deck. And now we're not looking so great. But we do have Heavy and we do have Fader. And yeah, well, we went first. We have 5 to their 7. They are just swinging. No Monarchs in sight. Treeborn's not doing much. We let that go through. We don't really need to drop the Fader just yet, even though we're getting low, and now Honest is getting scary. And we top deck a pseudo Monarch that is Dark Dust Spirit, so I think the only play here is to get their monster off the field and set him in defense mode. Again, my opponent's playing very well, just not letting me get my Treeborns back. Maybe I shouldn't have set the Dust Tornado. Then we would have got Dust Shooted. My hand was pretty bad at that point, so maybe they would have put back the Fader, and then they knew they could kind of step on the gas. They would have saw our whole hand, and at that point, it was very bad. And so we're locking ourselves right now with Treeborn, or with the Dust and Treeborn not being able to come back, but maybe that's actually okay, because we still have that little bit of knowledge that they are refusing to try to gain. But we're still pretty minus. Our ultimate +1 is not. They're not coming through yet. So we're -2, and we're still just hoping. What are we hoping for, right? That they set back row, that we can get a dupe block out. So they summon Ocean and they swing. And this is actually great that it's Ocean, because it gets rid of this and it lives, and we're going to get it back to our hand. And it returns in the end phase, so they pass, and here we just summon Swap Frog. We're trying to thin the deck because we're topping Substitoads that we can't dupe block with just yet, and we have a Dust that we're not in an awful spot here. We just swing for the 1,000, which I don't think is bad, and we're doing a little bit of work to them. But a good thing now is that if they try to swing, we can fader, and then we could do block with Substitute if they want to commit all their back rows. We have heavy. If they want to commit one, we have dust. And I don't really want to look at their hand now because I don't want to know how they're going to play it. And here's the alias. So, foot on the gas, exactly how they should be playing it at this point. Really got to just try to not let frogs gain any advantage or anything. So I dropped the fader here. I don't want to get too low, and we do want to set up this dupe block. They're checking our grave. And here come the back row. They're going to set 4 back row. And I'm going to Dust Tornado one of them. Is this questionable? Is it necessary to randomly dust one back row? And we have heavy. What are we going to heavy? And if it's Starlight Road, we can't even dust. We can't chain MST. You know what I mean? Like, it's just... It seems... I don't know. I guess that's a questionable one. You guys let me know what you think, if that was a good play to dust one of them or not. We do hit the dust shoot. We do get lucky, but, a Skill Drain, a Hero Blast, and a Gemini Spark. That's what else we're dealing with, and I figure, we're going to get Treeborn back. I finally have a chance to use my damn Dust Tornado, so I'm using that. Guarantee I'm using that. And we hit the dust shoot, which is great. And I'm thinking here if I want to set this heavy, but I don't think I do. We just got dust shoot off the field, so we top deck Caius. If they did dust shoot, we had a bunch of options. I think heavy's the first thing we're going to do, get the rest of the cards, so it would have been 2 left off the field. If we'd hit something else with dust, and then they would have had options. Obviously, they aren't going to touch these 2, but between these 3, what's going to save us? Is Duplock, that's up for them to decide, but that doesn't really come into play right now. I guess we could try to figure that out more, what they would have put back in their situation. They have an Honest and a Deep Prison in their hand, so maybe they put the Caius back. Maybe they get rid of Duplock if I'm a hero player and I'm looking at this and my opponent just heavy storms. Hero Blast is definitely going through. Gemini Spark is going through. If once I heavy storm, I'm going to get a card back to my hand. I'm going to Gemini Spark, draw another card. So, yeah, and then both my cards are off the field. But, yeah, maybe still the Substitute. I'm not sure. That's an interesting one. But that doesn't matter. But I do like to talk about the what-ifs because we were, a 25% chance of hitting something that wasn't a dust shoot. So that could have definitely come up, even though we're looking at it through our opponent's eyes. Excuse me. Still, always want to make the right play, and I think trying to figure out what they could do in those situations helps us be a better player as well. So I heavy right here. YOLO, I guess, right? I mean, are we not going to heavy storm right here? If they start us dragging, we could Caius. We're still in a pretty tough spot. But yeah, I'm not going to not heavy right here. They've been sitting on a bunch of traps this whole game and not setting them. And maybe heavy's not the right play, but I felt like it needed to be done. So they chain Gemini Spark. They Hero Blast. Get a card back to their hand. We do get Skill Drain off the field, which is good. So now we went first. We have 4. When they draw, they're going to have 5. So we're still minus. And we're at 25. And poking for 1,000 doesn't seem great right now. So we set Substitute, which I guess we could have summoned Substitute and tributed it and got a Dupe Frog, which makes a little bit of sense, but I think maybe more sense we set this now. Next turn, Treeborn comes back, and then we could tribute both and get Dupe Block as opposed to 1. So they just summon Alias into Substitute, and they take their 100. And now we're in the game a little bit, right? We're holding on. So they set to 3 back row, which is rough, and we top deck a really nice Dust Tornado. And now I'm nervous, right? Now they have 3 back row again. And, what's the play right here? Do you attribute this for Duplock? If they have Oppression in, then we pretty much just lose. Do we tribute this for Caius? And if they have Torrential, then we pretty much lose to a Miracle Fusion. I don't really want to go on the aggressive here. I don't think going for the Duplock is bad, but Hero Blast and Gemini Spark again are going to hurt us very badly. I don't think there's an argument to really go for a Monarch right here. I think going for Duplock, setting Dust Tornado is the play we're going to make. But I don't remember, to be honest. And he's thinking about it. Let's see, what is he thinking about? Bottomless, a Deep Prison, and a Gemini Spark. Alright, so he does have the Gemini Spark. This will resolve if he chains it. And he's thinking. He lets it go. We get our Dupe Frog. I tribute my Substitute. I get another Dupe Frog. I set Dust. I pass. Alright. I love hitting fast forward because it goes from me slowly babbling and wondering to just like... Alright, so this happened to 7. So they draw an Ocean. They summon aforementioned Ocean, and they pass. Alright, so we draw Substitute, not a card we really want. And now I want my Treeborn back, and this Dust Tornado is kind of scary, because if we hit this Gemini Spark, then that's no good. That's no good. My friend Randall, who helped me build this deck, one of my old teammates, one of my good friends, he always said, I'm going to share this with everyone, don't ever hold this against me if it ends up biting you in the ass, but he always said, you space or dust the back row closest to the deck. That's always where they put one that's not going to hurt you that bad. So sometimes I live by that. And here I lived by that. I didn't remember if I did or not. Sometimes I go against that. And I don't think it's bad now that we have Treeborn to necessarily start playing a little more aggressively. Caius is a great card to try to disrupt with. But the problem with that is we want to get this off the field so they can't keep getting their cards back every turn, even though it looks like they're getting pretty low on targets. But if they have Honest, then we are in a lot of trouble. So, questions need to be asked. Miracle Fusion is very live. So you bring out Caius. What are we going for? That's the question. That is the question. I think if we go for Alias and the Gemini Spark to get this off the field, then we still have Dupe Block, so we're still okay. And if they get rid of one of the Dupe Frogs, then we have Caius still, which is good. So we do go for the Alias. We force the Gemini Spark out of them. I think they absolutely have to play it. I don't know. I think they're pondering what they're going to hit exactly. And they do hit the Caius, and they draw their card. And now, after all this time, we went first. We have 5 cards. When they draw, they will have 5. So we're finally even. And we have Treeborn engraved. 2 Treeborns engraved. So now is our... Alright, they are getting Ocean back. I lied. So they are still +1 on us. But we're finally climbing back a little bit. They get back Ocean. They summon thy Ocean. And now we top deck another Caius, which is fantastic. And now they're just going to be getting all their monsters back. So I think this is kind of a no-brainer. Duplock is the best thing we've ever seen right now. I think we want to get both Oceans off the field. So we're going to Caius, remove 1. We don't ever really want to go for the back row, right? Because they could chain Bottomless and whatnot. They do only have 1 Bottomless left, but I want to put pressure on the board. They don't have a light monster on the field right now. I think we're fine to Caius right here. And they solemn it. They solemn the Caius, which is interesting because they have a deep prison set, and I don't know. If I get rid of both of these, they have Honest and Miracle Fusion. I guess that's not great. I guess Caius is very disruptive, but them having more monsters in their hand doesn't do a whole lot, considering they're probably going to draw another Hero Blast at some point. They could just Miracle Fuse. I guess, like, I'm not super upset that they solemn that right there, because now they're getting kind of low. And yes, they're generating a ridiculous amount of plus, getting all these cards in their hand. And they drew a Gemini Spark, which is insane. But they're just monsters that can't really do anything against my dupe block. So they bring back 2 Alias. They summon an Alias. They set the back row. I get back Treeborn. And they set that Gemini Spark, which is like really, really rough for us. So now we have a decision to make. We're like, alright, if it's Hero Blast or Gemini Spark. Once dupe block is gone, we are really, really tight. So what is the play right here? That's what we end up doing, because I think that's the right play. If they Gemini Spark to break the dupe block, 1, they have to Miracle Fuse to get over a 2000 ass, and when they attack into this, it'll kill everything, including the 0, which will kill everything, and then it's just a clear board, and hopefully Treeborns could stall it out enough. So, anticipating a Hero Blast or a Gemini Spark, I tell myself I need one more line of defense, even though they know what this is, and they've seen this happen to them when the Ocean attacked into it game 1. I still think it's important to make sure that we're not just going to lose the game this turn, because, I mean, now look at, we have 6 to their 11. They have so many monsters. He Calls dead. Honest is looking really good, but Miracle Fusion in the back row are what we're afraid of. The monsters can't get over Dupe Frog without the back row. The dupe block is just insane. So they're thinking about it. They're going to E-Call. They don't have a target. So they go right for Miracle Fusion, and they actually have to use what's on the field because they went so plus getting stuff out of the graveyard. And now the homies are starting to pile in, and a lot of homies start to pile in because this game ends up taking so long that we were the last match, I think. And they summon Alias. I digress, but this is all things that are happening in the game and around the game, surrounding the game, could affect your mental state and stuff. Some people, at least, and so maybe it's worth noting. So they summon Alias and they Gemini Spark. They get a dupe off the field. They draw a card. So now we are happy that we set this. They give us 1,000. That's interesting that this is in this deck, but also good that we get the 1,000. And now, we're a little nervous, right? Because dupe block was keeping us in the game. But that 1,000 matters a lot because Gores, right? So everything goes according to plan. Dupe Frog gets us a Swap Frog back. Dark Dust clears the board, and they don't really get much off the 0. So we're not looking awful right here. We're not looking terrible, and they're at 25. So they summoned. They have a Deep Prison for protection and just a crap load of monsters that they can't summon. So they set 2 back row. One's an equal, both dead equals. So worth noting. How do I respond to that? But dupe block is gone. So we're at 35, and now every play is so important. Do we want to summon Swap Frog if they have Torrential? Miracle Fusion, we know how many monsters they have. Miracle Fusion monster wins the game, and they still have 2 in this deck of 19, so that's over 10% chance that they're going to draw it, and I gotta hit the gas a little bit. And 2 Gemini Sparks are gone. Hero Blast, only 1 is gone. Yeah, so they really could just summon a monster, swing. If we summon into Torrential, they could summon a monster, swing into Gores, and then Honest is game, right? So we gotta be a little careful. Setting Substitute here isn't the worst because it's buying us time, but do we really want to buy time in this situation? Because we don't really want to let them top deck too much, right? So we have to try to finish this game, and that's what we do. We summon Swap Frog, we swing. We could have sent Substitute with Swap Frog. Might have been afraid of pulling the rug. I don't know if they would have used it right there. I think at this point it's safe to say one of these is a bluff. We saw them get so many monsters back to their hand and then play the equal that they couldn't play that I don't know if we probably could retrace all the cards they got back to their hand and realize at least one of these is an e-call, but the fact that both of them are an e-call is pretty good. So they summon Stratos, no effect, swing over Treeborn, and they pass, and that seems fine with us. So we top deck 1 for 1. Maybe it's good that we left Substitute in the deck. They forget to set a 4th back row, but they say it's all good. Kind of important. I don't know what that seems interesting. I mean, what is it? It's a Legacy of yeah. You definitely want that set. They forgot, but they said it's all good, so I didn't have to really go deeper with that. Like, you know, you could set it. I guess you forgot. You know, we're in a tournament. You shouldn't forget to do stuff like that, and it shouldn't be on me to tell you if it's okay or not. It makes it kind of awkward, but they were nice about it and they said it's all good, so shout out to them. So now what are we thinking? Do we soul exchange this and our frog to set Gores? Do we set Substitute? You know, how aggressive do we want to be? We set Substitute, and now, you know, it's interesting because again, Miracle Fusion hurts. Gores is going to be our line of defense. They summon Alias. And this is good for us. They're taking a little bit of damage. Puts them down to 14. And they're not Miracle Fusing. They're not doing anything wild. They're going to set this back row this time. I believe they set 2 back row this time. So they have a full field. And now I actually make a big mistake here. Not a misplay. Oh yeah, this can't die. Frogs can't die, but he still attacked and I let it go, but it didn't matter. Yeah, but always note that. Your frogs can't die with Substitute. I shouldn't miss that as the frog player. It's nice of him to say that, but I shouldn't. We're playing the deck, right? That's in our responsibility. So it's also our responsibility not to make illegal moves, which is what I do right here, which I think about for quite some time, what I'm going to do. And I'm going to Soul Exchange, get rid of their Stratos for Ryza. And I'm going to try to put the Alias back on top. And they're thinking about this, and they let it go, which is just insane that went through, right? No response to that. And I'm like, alright, now I can just attack for game. So that's what I try to do, and I literally just soul exchanged. I can't attack. What am I doing? And they deprison. They don't say anything about this, and that is just highly illegal. So at this point, I think in a couple seconds or turns or at some point, someone messages both of us. I think the game state has moved on to the point where it's so dicey because I'm like, oh, should I say something? I know that he had a deep prison set. Like, is it the game state has changed too much that I don't know if it's worth bringing attention to? It's kind of like accepted game state at this point, which I feel awfully about because I didn't want to make an illegal play. And what's the right thing? And I think at some point someone messages him and says, hey, your opponent attacked after they soul exchanged. So this gets into a big kerfuffle with having to go to the mods and stuff, and them taking a few minutes trying to decide what's going to happen, and we'll get through all that. But until that happens, we'll just keep covering this, what's happening on the field. So I Pot of Avarice, and they say that's fine, and that's a fantastic card to draw. And we're putting a bunch of good cards back in the deck, and we're drawing really, really good cards. We got to put Dupe Frogs back in the deck. And now here it is. Here's the, oh wait, and he pauses because I think this is when someone messages him. And yeah, we're just going to fast forward through all this. And yeah, I'm just explaining, it was my bad. And such and such. And he's asking the mods, and someone messaged him, and I said I didn't, I thought it might be too late. And now people are just starting to pile in. They're like, we want to play our matches, and we're in a paused game state, and waiting, and they're still discussing. It really took like 5 to 10 minutes, and I was trying to be very polite about all of it and say thank you for talking to them about it, and so they said we just continue. It's accepted game state. Minor warning. I asked him, even though that's the judge's ruling, I still asked my opponent, are you okay with that? Because I feel very badly that happened, and even though I have the knowledge that there's a deep prison, I think I still probably would have not played around the deep prison. I would have been like, I would have tried to make it better, even if that cost me the game, because there's no reason to try to, yeah, we all want to top, yeah, we all want to do well, but I think the purity and the fun of the game and just trying to enjoy the game and play it the right way means the most. So, I'm 30 years old now, and I'm at the point where I just enjoy my hobby, and I care about keeping the community just honorable in doing the right thing. If that means not topping a tournament or losing a match, then it is what it is. There was a younger time in my life where I was very hungry, and I just cared about winning, and we just always wanted to win. And stuff like that would be, I'd be upset about what's happening or whatever, but right now it's like, just let it go. If they want to give me a game loss for something like that, if my opponent wants me to take it back or anything, I just want to make sure that they're happy with it and that there's good honor in this, and just good sportsmanship in this game, because it's a really beautiful game. So I asked them if they're okay with it, and they say it's fine. We get a little extension, and I said if he wants to appeal it to them, anything he wants, basically. I just want to make sure my opponent's happy with it, and he says it's fine. So he unpauses the game. I get Treeborn back, and now we're not out of the woods yet. We don't get Treeborn back, I'm sorry. I used Substitute and attributed the Treeborn to get Dupe Frog, and then that's when he paused it. So now I'm getting my Dupe Block back. And now I'm at 35, so yeah, if he has 0 in Ocean, and if I Brain Control and I put myself to 27 and he ends up getting an Ocean and a 0 on the field and swings, I can't drop the Gore. So I'm debating right here what I want to do. Brain Control attacking doesn't seem terrible. Brain Control, I don't want to get rid of my Dupe Block, so if I Brain Control and he chains Gemini Spark, it does tribute this, so I can't chain Super Poly. So we're in an interesting state right here, and now, mentally, I'm like, alright, we have a 5-minute time extension. I don't know when this game's going to end. If I win this game, it's going to be a tie, and that's basically a loss, and now I'm 2-2, so I'm like, this is tough. I'd rather have the tie and then try to win 4 rounds in a row than straight up lose. So, and if we go into game 3, there's a chance that maybe I could get his life points down a little bit, although it's unlikely considering they summon Stratos turn 1 most likely and swing. On turn 3, when I summon Swap Frog and send Treeborn to the grave, or I set a monster, and if it's not Dupe Frog or Substitute, then they attack over me, and they probably have a million back row, and they probably side skill drain out, and so a lot of scenarios and questions. I Brain Control and just go for game right here. That's what I'm hoping is going to happen. They have all bluffs except for the deep prison. So all bluffs, all bluffs. They deep prison their own alias, and now I'm like, alright, there's a little bit of hope in this game. Why did I pause that? There is hope in this game. Royal Oppression, honest. Alright, this is very late to the party. And they just set it, and they set their honest, and they pass. I draw dust. Good card to draw, I think. Good card. Get back Treeborn. And now it's still scary to see all them back row. And still only one Hero Blast. So we're not, you know, even though I'm looking at these cards like, alright, we're at the end of the game, my opponent has like all dead stuff. That's not what's going through my head during the game. During the game, I'm like, alright, gotta be very careful. We're at 27. I want to make sure I do this the best possible way. They're setting monsters, you know, so how aggressive do we want to be? Do we want to set dust and, you know, pitch swap for swap next turn if they have an oppression, or just do this now? Pitch swap for swap, tribute both for Gore's attack, you know, they could still have bottomless, you know. I just set the dust and I pass. I play it safe, and I don't think there's too much wrong with that. They're still under dupe block. If, you know, time, you know, oh, also, 2 Miracle Fusions still in the deck, except now the, you know, odds of them drawing it are pretty good, and they don't draw it. They draw Fossil Dyna, which is really good. Really good. But we're up on life, and we're creeping close to time, so even with the extension. So they set the Fossil Dyna and they pass. And now, wow, Fossil Dyna really just hurts, right? Because this is all special summon. This Dust Tornado doesn't do much. We can't Super Poly. And I'm not sure if I made the read that this is Fossil Dyna or not. I think I might have just passed here, but it would make sense to set this for more defense. It wouldn't be a bad play. We also haven't seen a Torrential Tribute. And I'm going to 1-for-1, pitch a Swap Frog. Interesting, interesting. And I'm going for a Battle Fader, actually, to put more monsters on the field, is what I'm going to do. And they're thinking about it. They have one card they could activate that as Oppression, and they have 2 Equals in a Future Fusion set, so they're thinking about this. And they let it go through. That Fossil Dyna is looking... I feel fine right now. I feel very fine. I summon Swap Frog. Now we're in time, he lets me know. And I summon Swap Frog, thinking that now that we're in time, I could bounce Fader back to my hand. If it's special summoned by its own effect, it gets banished when it leaves the field, but because I special summoned it with 1-for-1, I could bounce it back and stall. If they have Oppression or anything, I have Dust set. I feel good about where I am. Little do I know that this card is going to ruin all of that. So fast forward all the chat. That's the play that I make. I pass with Swap Frog on the field, not super worried because I have dupe block. So they're thinking, they tribute, they tribute, they flip Fossil Dyna, and that kills basically my whole field except Swap Frog, and I get my dupes, but I'm thinking I can't special summon to next turn to protect my ass, so we're in really rough shape. He flipped that Fossil Dyna. At this point, I'm just like, that really, really hurts, and he's going to swing... He's going to summon a second Honest and swing for even more, so I'm taking 24 to put me at 300, I think. And he bounces the Honest back to his hand, so I'm like, alright, now, I think on my turn it was 0, 1, so now we're on 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have this turn and one more turn to make something happen. And I draw Barbaros, which you know, how aggressive can we really be at this point? And he has an Honest, you know, to swing over, so I can't really... At this point, I've kind of accepted defeat. Fader's doing nothing. I can't do anything with the swaps. The only thing I could do, if I summon this and attack into Fossil Dyna, and it goes through, I could pitch Swap Frog to special summon another frog, bounce Barbaros back to my hand, and then he could still just summon the Honest. But then I have Fader. This is. I think the only thing I could do is set Substitute, right? Is just like protect my ass for a little bit. But at this point, I'm telling myself, the game is probably over, and I set Substitute. And now, this is interesting play because he's on his second to last turn of time. So he's on 3, and then 4 on me, and 5 on him. So he could play a defensive game right now. I'm lower than he is, so he doesn't really need to worry about my life points. I think it'd be okay if he turned both these to defense mode. But I think he is... he just swings with the Honest, which is crazy to me. Looking back on it now, and a couple people after the game said, that was nice setting the monster, protecting yourself. I don't know why I dust here. What's the thought process behind dusting on his attack? I dust a Future Fusion. That's fantastic. And now if he Honest this, he'll gain 100 attack, and it'll still only bring him up a little bit. So he's thinking. I think I know what he's thinking, but he can die by battle. He's not a frog monster, so he actually can die. But he's thinking right here that he wants to Honest, and I'm asking if you could gain the 100 and take, more damage, or less damage rather. So now he goes down, he turns this to defense mode, he goes down to 500 by attacking, and like the frog deck did for me all weekend, well, he sets a legacy, which is not really anything, still all bluff set, and like my magic frog deck does for your boy, on my last turn of time, I top deck nothing other than oh, there he is, right on time, and I have no other possible play right here than to tribute this for Caius, target himself. If he has bottomless or anything, I lose. But these are all bluffs and nothing cards, and he is thinking what he wants to do, but there's really not, much that he can do. Summon is fine. I target myself. He lets it go through. Well, he chains this, I think, and draws a card. And, yeah, had he... Wow, so... made all these people wait, but sacked the Caius at the end. And then, even if we drew the Caius, right? Yeah, if he didn't attack, if he just set the other Honest or left this in attack mode and left that Honest in his hand with the Fossil Dyna in defense, I tribute for Caius. I can't win, right? If I get this off of the field with Caius, I can't attack over this. If I get this off the field with Caius, then I can't special summon anything else to beat him with. So I think if he played defensively and didn't put himself under 1,000, we would have won, or he would have won. But he went for it right there, and yeah, so we go to game 3, but we're in time, so that ends as a draw. And very interesting. Very, very interesting round, and a very long round, and one in which I had Tinkle very badly, but being the last game, you just immediately have to go into the next round. So we had to hold that, And mentally, what is that? No, I'm not going to get into all that. But yeah, so coming off a loss against the Norlaris deck, and then this happening, I'm like, all right, 2 more rounds today. I found out there are 2 rounds on Sunday, so I'm like, damn, we got to win both of these, and then win 2 more tomorrow, which I've always been a pretty good bubble player, but I've never really been a good online player for some reason. So I'm like, we just got to win 4 in a row. It's possible. I felt good about this tournament, but now I'm 2-1-1, and I'm like, all right, now we literally can't lose, and that's a tough feeling, but we will see how the rest of the tournament goes. I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching. It really means a lot. I say this all the time. I get too sentimental all the time, but it means a lot that you guys are interested in my thought process behind the game, and just that you could be part of the ride with me, because I love the game so much, and I'm happy that after all these years it has made a comeback in my life, and it seems like everyone's been so supportive and enjoying the content, and I appreciate it very much. So hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you in round 5.